tonight. Or you made all your points today, so you have a free weekend. All the forms of reward and not reward is another way that we influence each other a lot. So then, can we roll that up just a minute? This one is, these two, the top. Presumably this only happens when language develops. And that is, we can either instruct, we can tell somebody what to do. If you don't know what to do, I'll tell you what to do. And it's a highly overrated form of assistance, but under the right circumstance, it can be helpful. Or you can ask a question. This is especially useful in assisting people when you want them to, when you're working on the development of a cognitive process. Ask a question. Well, what do you think will happen if you do that? What will happen next? And get the person to think about it. So asking questions can be enormously high assistance. This one is, those only, we don't see that going on in pre-human subjects. Presumably those are related to development of language evolutionarily. And cognitive feeding back, again, cognitive structuring is the same thing as these others. That is, a common language synonym for that is explaining. That's what I'm doing with you now, is I'm using mostly that means of assistance, is to explain a concept in terms of other terms. The last thing about feeding back against the standard, I don't know when that happened, maybe not with science, but it is a way that it developed first in cybernetics, closed loop feedback systems. So if you say to someone, assistants, you did this in 56 seconds. That doesn't mean very much. How fast was I supposed to do it? And if you just say, oh, well, you did 4 things. Okay, is that an A, a B, a C, or a D? Or what? So what this way of assistance means, giving it against a standard. You got 4 things right. What our standard for you to do was 6. So you got 4, you should have got 6. Okay, then I know I have to go faster. So the idea there is you have to give the feedback and the standard at the same time. This is really very powerful. This is why if you want to do some self-change operations, best thing in the world is record keeping. Just write down what you did. How many calories did you do this morning? If you write it down, and then you know how many you wanted to do, it can be one of the most powerful forms of self-control. Okay. So how then, we go back from this, let's go back to the previous slide. No, back to number 1. Yeah. In a psychosocial system, how is it that those people are influencing each other? Some of those 8 ways, because that's all there is. So people explain things to each other, or they model them, or they give feedback, or etc. And it is in this system is the way that influence is brought about to change, and it is the way that this works powerfully and effectively is in psychosocial systems. Okay, we'll stop there for a minute and consult with each other for a few moments. Yeah. So how much longer do we have? my timekeeper has just said that it's a very good idea if what we do is begin to move to the second half of the program, which we're going to do cover in about 10 minutes. So let me move on to that. Let's see the next slide and see what do I have here. Next one. No, the fourth or fifth. We'll skip that one. What's the last one? No, we'll skip that one. That's okay. Okay, here is what, if what we want to do is in education, we want to achieve several things. One is we want to have the greatest degree of impact on the individual development, cognitive, emotional, and social of all of the students. That's one of our goals. We also have other social policy goals that may be different in different regions, but the education has as its general purpose. We want several conditions. We want to have a school and a classroom that is harmonious, that is fair, that is very effective, and that is creates in the students a desire to think clearly and to continue learning. So if that's what we want to do, then what I want to suggest is that we need to reorganize on the principles. Let's go back to number one. Is to reorganize on these principles. We know that students come to school even into kindergarten, first grade. They come to school already organized in friendship groups. Many of those friendship groups will continue throughout 12 years of schooling, sometimes even longer, because they continue to be the only psychosocial system that they have. How is it possible to do this differently? Well, we know that you can't go backwards on the system. You can't just tell people, okay, all of you start thinking and feeling the same way. We want intersubjectivity here. That's the biggest waste of time that any sermon ever tries. Affinity, you tell all of you people, you start liking each other. Yeah, right, yeah. So I don't think we'll get anywhere with that. And propinquity, we already have propinquity because we got all the kids round up and they're put in these rooms. And they're only 30 feet from each other. We already have propinquity. The only place to intervene is on activity. Most of the joint activity in most educational institutions happens not in classrooms. Happens some other place, but not in classrooms. So a Delta theory classroom is organized very differently. It's organized by intervening on the only thing we have to intervene on. We can't change anything except activity, but we can do that. In a Delta theory classroom, you will have many activities going on simultaneously in small groups. Maybe as many as in a classroom of 30 students, you might have 6 different activities going on. Maybe you would have 5 students each. Now here's the trick. If you let the students choose who they want to work with, it will be on the basis of affinity. I want to sit with my friends. So what we have to do as educators is we pick out who they work with. And we make sure that through a series of rotations, everybody works with everybody. And you create out of these small, instead of having small groups of pre-existing psychosocial systems, what you make of the classroom is an integrated social network in which everybody knows each other, in which the overlap produces intersubjectivity across the entire classroom, producing greater affinity across the classroom. And this is the condition under which you maximize the amount of assistance, the amount of influence. Because in these groups, we organize them with the expectation that it's going to be joint activity. So you help each other, you assist each other. And you use mixed ability groups. Now, in order to do this, one of those activities, at least, has to contain the teacher, because that is the prima source of quality and influence. But if the teacher makes sure that she works with every student as often as possible, every day, 3 times a week, then what she is able to do is influence it and bring them closer into forming with her a psychosocial system. This in the places where it has been tried, it can create changes in friendship patterns, broadening friendship patterns, a greater integration across the problem that we were hearing about before. What do we do with all these different people who are coming in who never have anything to do with each other and don't understand? Yes, they will, because if they work together, they do that. Now, where in education systems, what do we have as a model? The best model that we have, I think, is in graduate school seminars. Graduate school seminars work a bit like that, and that's why everybody likes that better than big lecture halls. And the other place before that is in preschool, when all the children are all tumbling over and they're all playing together and doing the same things. It's kind of pre-psychosocial system development. And in between, what we have to do is find a way of providing more direct assistance in the zone of proximal development. And we can only do this through shared activity. At the present time, we have reduced the amount of shared activity down to the absolute minimum, because in the international culture of the school, what happens is the teacher talks, the teacher says, and the teacher assesses.